Hey guys, welcome to Real Talk with Brian Poduska. We're going to tackle all the sports questions you have this week. My name is Nathan Smith. I'm guest hosting today. I host the Community Difference Plano. I'm excited to be with you guys today. We're going to tackle some things. What happened in Plano High School football this week? That crazy Arkansas Texas A&M game this past week, and oh my goodness, the Cowboys might be able to save their season after all. So stick around. We're going to talk about that and more coming up next.
Welcome to Real Talk Sports Edition with Brian Poduska, where you will get sports talk and sports opinions hotter than a Texas summer.
Are you ready?
Brian, you are muted.
Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Hey, guys, sorry about that. I'm having some tough technical difficulties. Speakers fell off my podium here, and my microphone apparently became unplugged. So apologies for the technical difficulties. But what I was saying when you couldn't hear me is, number one, thank you, Nathan, for the introduction. Look forward to having you on the show today. As always, it's a pleasure to see you and have you on as a guest. Yeah, and you mentioned I like your little sports play in there. We're going to tackle a few subjects today, which we are. None, not the least of which is the oink doink. If you saw the Texas A&M Arkansas game, you know what I'm talking about. So we'll cover that a little bit today. We'll talk about some high school football. We'll dive into the results of friends of the program, some former coaches or some current coaches that we've had on the show before, cover their scores. And, of course, we're going to dive into the Cowboys a little bit this week. We haven't had a chance to do that on some of the previous shows because we've run out of time. So we'll dedicate a little bit of Cowboys talk today. And then whatever else, of course, we're going to talk about let Nathan talk about the show that he hosts specifically, which also incorporates a little bit of Plano sports into it, and that's the Community Difference Plano show. So without further ado, Lennon, come on in. Nathan, come on in, and let's all get together and huddle. What's up, fellas?
What's up?
Hello. How is everybody?
Well, now that you can hear me, I'm better. Again, apologies for that technical difficulty up front, but yeah, the not to diminish the hurricane going on in Florida right now, but yeah, I had a little hurricane go through my office. So I think all my equipment is back in order here. So welcome, Nathan. Thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here.
Awesome.
Good to be here.
Well, where do you guys want to start? We've got three pretty cool topics. The Oink Doink. We've got the A&M Arkansas game. We've got Cowboys. Nathan, we can dive into what you do and what you're expanding on with Community Difference Plano. Why don't we start there? Why don't we let you talk a little bit about your show, and then maybe we can circle back on it a little bit and dive a little deeper later in the show on it.
Sure. So I have, Lennon and I got together at the beginning of the year, and I've been on your previous show, Brian, for a year or so as a guest host. Early on, my best friend Blake Timmons and I, we hosted a show on The Difference. So been involved for not quite since the beginning, but for quite a while. At the beginning of the year, Lennon and I got together, and he started talking about how, he just wanted to see The Difference have a segment or a show that really spoke to the community, right? And really brought to light some of the things that were really good that were going on in the community, right? We talked about all the time how much there is a prevalent negativity in the news, and it's much easier to talk about things that are negative and down, and just we need, and I guess that that kind of stuff gets ratings, but we need to highlight some good things that are going on and exciting things. So we thought, well, what is it that makes up a community? Well, it's people, obviously, citizens, but it's also small businesses, it's churches, it's first responders, it's our community leaders, our government leadership, schools, school boards, school districts, different nonprofits and charities. And you thought, well, we can bring all these together and have them highlight things that are going on and events and great stories and way they're impacting the community. But also, for the small businesses, give a voice and put a face with a name and get their name out there as well. Because, we've talked about this in other shows that, the small business world is really the backbone of the country, right? We get a lot of news and a lot of awareness of big corporations, Amazon, Walmart, all the, not just in the retail space, but the most of the country is made up of small towns. I mean, Plano's, it's not a small town. It's like 400,000 people, but most of the country is made up of small towns, well under 500,000, unless you live in Alaska where the entire state is under 500,000. It's another story. But they're the driving force, right? And so you look in those communities and the synergy that they have, and we want to encourage people to support their local businesses, to get involved politically, right? We don't take sides necessarily, but just understand that what happens within your community affects you more than even the national stage, right? We get so involved in national politics, and for good reason. But, the bonds that you have to vote on and the things that are happening in your community and how well schools, or your roads, how easy is it to have a small business? What are some of the perks that your city is trying to bring in to attract new people and things of that nature. And so it's been a really cool journey so far. I think we're about to expand our horizons from Plano to a few other cities, kind of incorporate together in the Collin County area. But we're just really looking to continue to build relationships and bring exciting stories and to the forefront. And of course, and you living in Texas, this time of year you got to talk about high school football. So we try to do that. We still a little bit of your thunder, but touching on some of the football scores. In fact, I went to the game. The Plano Senior High was there. It was their homecoming. I went to their game the other night, and they played Plano East. I don't know which rivalry is bigger, Plano East versus Plano, or Plano West versus Plano. I guess you can decide because Plano plays Plano West this week. But they won their homecoming game, 33-22. It really wasn't that close. They really played a good game. They came into the game at 1-2. Plano East was 3-0. So depends on who you played, obviously. But they had it wasn't really as close as the score indicated, in my opinion. Right? They ended up 416 total yards to only 294 by Plano East. They passed the ball really well, 175 rushing yards, 241 passing yards, which, in high school, a lot of times you see a lot more rushing yards. It just kind of depends on your quarterback, but they've got a really good quarterback. They've got a good set of receivers. And so they were 50% on third down, which means they're keeping drives alive, which is really exciting. Plano East was only 2 out of 7. So Plano Senior High did a great job. Now, obviously, we want to cover all the schools, so we want Plano East to do well too. We want Plano West to do well. So, if you want to see some good high school football, I would recommend coming out to the Plano Senior High Plano West game. That's this Friday. It's at Plano West, so that's going to be 7:00. So, yeah, we're just excited at what we're doing. I know I'm the longest answer ever, but there's so much involved in the show and so much that we're excited about. So that's a little bit about it. So, I mean, any questions that anybody in your audience has, I would just recommend that you come check out the show on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. right here on The Difference.
Thanks, Nathan, for that overview. And I love what you're doing on that show in particular. And as you said, we're looking to expand the concept to other municipalities in the area here. We had an early Frisco version of that, and we're going to continue to expand on that as well. That's a community that we are in. That's a community that I live in. That's a community that our real property management, my business, is in as well. So I have a lot of passion for that. The real estate season, unfortunately, took me away from pushing that forward a little bit, but we're going to dive into that as the season slows down a little bit here, coming into the cooler months and now that everybody's in school. So love what you're doing on that show. Love the fact that you brought in a little bit of sports to it too. So you mentioned the game that you went to. We had the coach of Plano Senior on, Coach Todd Ford, last week on the show, and it was awesome to have him in and talk about, what they're all about. His theme and motto was first class everything. And that's the way that he tries to operate his program and really instill in the players that he coaches. So it was good to see him get a win, just as a friend of the program. Not necessarily rooting one way or the other, but certainly it was great to have him on and see him win. And I think they even up their record at 2-2, and they're looking to keep that going in the right direction. They've suffered a couple tough losses. One real close loss, I think he said in the last play of the game, was their second to last loss here. So
that was their first district. I believe that was their first district.
That was, yes, that's
correct. They're 1-0 in district, which is the most important thing.
So they're in first place, no matter how you look at it, right?
Yeah, they're in good shape.
There you go. Well, along those lines, friends of the program, I was looking up some scores from high school this week. There weren't any. So what I was looking for, because we had a theme going the last couple of weeks of upsets, right? So I was looking down the high school, the high school scores for this week, and there's only one ranked team that lost. And there were a couple ranked teams playing ranked teams, but the team that was ranked higher in each case, in that case, won. So the one upset that I could find was number 11 Lancaster lost to Longview 21-13. There were some other really good games. Friend of the program, Coach Dan Novikov, his team, Parish Episcopal, ranked number 6. They won 24-16 against number 12 China Spring. So huge win for that program and Coach Novikov. Also, we had on our inaugural show, first Real Talk Sports Edition, we had Coach Lee Wigington, the head coach of the Allen football team, on when they played the number 1 team in the country, St. John Bosco. So Coach Wigington's Allen Eagles won 43-7 over Braswell. And then, like I said earlier, we had Coach Ford on last week, and we've covered that one. So 33-22 win by Plano Senior. I will also give a shout out to my kids' school, so the Frisco Raccoons, the OG Frisco school. They won their homecoming game 35-7 versus Lebanon Trail. They moved to 4-1. They have not yet pierced the rankings, the top 25, but who knows? Hopefully, if they keep going, they can get there.
Don't be fooled by the Raccoons, because that is the most fierce animal pound for pound in the animal kingdom.
Dude, they are ferocious. If you've ever gone camping in a campground that has a lot of raccoons, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It feels like they have opposable thumbs. They can get into coolers, get into whatever you want. They can drink your beer. It's raccoons are fierce, man.
We probably should mention we had a comment from Farron Kane, even though it's a little outside of our purview. The Katy Tigers dismantled Made Creek in a close one, 59-3.
Sweet.
So
that's a tight one.
That's a tight one. So I feel like Katy was winning championships when I was in high school. It was like Katy and then Garland and then Mesquite and Katy again. So looks like they're doing pretty good again. They're 5-0 on the season, 3-0 in district. So they're crushing it. So there you go, Farron, a little Katy reference for you.
And I just got a text message that asked me why I'm looking everywhere except for the camera. I'm actually sharing and doing all the things you do in the back end. I've got 3 screens going. I'm doing research, so it's not that I'm not paying attention to all the wonderful knowledge these guys are sharing. I'm just busy.
So we're letting the listener in on the behind the scenes. So you're not always on camera. So now they get to see what you're actually doing and why the shows. We have all the information that we have. That's right.
Yeah. So Lennon tries to wear sports themed attire for the show, right? But what he doesn't have and doesn't show the audience is he's got an S under his chest for Superman, because he's the producer, the content contributor, does all the things behind the scenes, helps line up guests and does a lot of the legwork there. So, don't sell yourself short, Lennon. Just because you're not looking at the screen doesn't mean you're not working hard.
He also does magic. He also does magic at children's birthday parties. So he's really a jack of all trades, juggling, whatever you need. So
trust me, you're not getting any juggling from me.
So what I will say too, we can put a bow on the high school topic here. shortly, but yeah, I was just looking at the matchups, and it doesn't look like there's a ton of ranked versus ranked opponents playing each other in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There was one good game, which I have up on my screen. I've got to get down to it. But so it doesn't look like there's – not to say that there won't be a ton of great games out there, but no on paper massive matchups coming up. That's what it was. China Spring, who I mentioned earlier, the number 12 team in the area, they play Alvarado, who's 3-2 this Friday, tomorrow. And there are a couple other good ones. There's a 5-0 two teams that are 5-0. Number 17 North Crawley at home against Boswell, so they're both 5-0. And then there was a couple other ones which I'll get to earlier or later if we have time, but not as many as I would have expected as we get into the season here. There's some real lopsided matchups on paper anyway, so we'll see if we get any upsets coming out of those. Also, I'm going to tease out another friend of the program that we had on first show, St. John Bosco head coach. St. John Bosco is a team in California. They're the number 1 ranked team in the country in the LA area. They have a matchup coming up, not this weekend, but the next weekend against the number 2 team in the country, also in the same area in the LA area in California. Mater Dei, that is next Friday. So big number 1 versus number 2 matchup in the country coming up next week. And we're hoping to have some staff and maybe coaches come back on the program for that game coming up ahead of that game for next week. So more to come on that, but that is what's happening in high school football. Gentlemen, should we do a commercial break, Lennon, and come back and we can talk the Oink Doink and some other college football on the back end?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me get it pulled up here.
Okay.
All right. I'm ready whenever y'all are.
All right. Fire away the commercial. We'll talk Oink Doink on the backside.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Real property management focus. An unmatched level of service to property owners, investors, and tenants throughout the DFW Metroplex.
Katie Owen, the insurance gal, helps overwhelmed Medicare-eligible people successfully navigate the enrollment process. When turning 65, retiring, and signing up for Medicare for the first time, it can be confusing. So it's important to get guidance from someone you can trust. Katie helps her clients navigate the enrollment process in a way that eliminates the feeling of being overwhelmed and unsure and leaves her clients feeling relieved and confident. If you have questions about the Medicare process and want advice from someone you can trust, reach out to Katie at 972-943-3943 or at her website, www.insgal.com.
When you need a trusted roofing company on your side to help you out with storm damage repair for your roof, call Cook DFW Roofing. Serving Anna, Melissa, Princeton, Prosper, Van Alstyne, and all of the DFW area.
Red Branch Realty and owner-realtor Ashley Gentry are true champions at every level. As a top producer, Ashley Gentry and Red Branch Realty truly embody their mission of being your supporter and partner in your personal real estate journey. So if finding the best representation possible in achieving the American dream of homeownership is important to you, give Ashley a call at 972-342-1869.
For more information about our sponsors and their services, or if you would like information on how you and your business can partner with or sponsor this show, or others like it, just check the show description or comments for the relevant links and contact information. And now back to the show.
All right. Thank you, sponsors. As always, we couldn't do this without you, so we appreciate the support of the show. All right, let's move on to college football. We'll talk a little college football and the game of Lendon's week and year so far didn't go in your favor. But if you watched the show last week, we had some great guests from both sides of the fence on this game, the Arkansas and Texas A&M game. So, there it is. We've got footage of the Oink Doink. Let's watch it.
So it hits right on top of the right upright.
How is that even possible? Like, that's
1 in a million.
I have never seen it in, whatever. Not that I've watched the most football at anybody, but I certainly watched my fair share. And I'm a victim of the double doink. If you remember that from a couple of years ago, the Bears in the playoffs, the double doink where it hit off the right upright, then left upright, and then they lost the playoff game. That's kind of been dubbed the double doink. This one we can call the oink doink, which, yes, hit the top of the upright and went out. Physics-wise, I don't even know how that happens.
Well, that's impressive because you got to think it's got to be coming down at a steep enough angle that it hits perfectly and bounces backwards. Like if it's going up and hits the top, it's going to keep going if it grazes it. Like it's almost like you kicked it too high. I mean, not that you try to necessarily affect that. I mean,
whatever. We'll have a physicist on at some point in the future to figure out exactly what the odds are and a statistician to figure out what the odds are. But shit, man, like you said, it has to be high enough. It has to be coming down at just the right angle with the rotation of the football, and to hit the top of that and then bounce back instead of forward. And I think even if it bounces forward, it's no good, right? I don't even know the ruling on that because it's such an obscure thing. And the other oddball thing about that too, so they're playing in Jerry World, right, which has NFL size uprights in it. Mm-hmm. And at a college stadium, they have shorter uprights.
Some of them do.
What the dimensions are, but I know they're a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
So then the question is, if the uprights are short, if they're playing, a non-neutral site where they're playing home, which is what the series is going to move to. So if they're playing at a non-neutral site at a college stadium that has shorter uprights and that goes right over the upright, what are the referees?
If they agree that it went over the upright, then it's good.
Right, it's good.
Yeah. So that is kind of an interesting, but I mean, everybody's playing with the same upright.
Yeah, it should have never. That's right, they are, and it should have never come down to that. I'm going to pop this one up now so people can see it. This was really, in my opinion, the turning point of the game. I thought Arkansas was dominating it. I mean, we were up 14-7 and about to go up 21-7, and then this happens. I don't know why you try to go airborne from the 4-yard line or 3-yard line.
This coming up here is just brilliant and questionable whether or not his forward progress was stopped.
Yep.
They
always blow it too early when you don't want them to, and then they don't blow it soon enough when you do want them to. So
I'm not suggesting they blew a call on that, because I think you have to let it play out and just see what happens.
I wasn't upset about that. I thought that, first of all, our quarterback is a bulldozer, not an airplane.
Right.
He doesn't need to be trying to fly. He doesn't need to try to fly through the air. He needs to, and it was first down. Right. He had 4 downs to get 4 yards, and he decides to jump, which Michael Jordan might have not made that one. And as you're reaching the ball out, I mean, I don't know. It's just a boneheaded play. I love the kid. It's just, too many mistakes, and it added up to a loss for Arkansas. I'm not going to take anything away from Texas A&M, but I don't think they learned anything about themselves in that game.
No, I think if you're to ask most A&M fans, did you win that game? I mean, they'll say, yeah, on paper, sure did. But I think everyone to a T would say they got outplayed.
Yes, and they still lost to Appalachian State. So, but.
Where's that graphic? You still got that graphic, Landon?
I do have it. Hold on, let me get that up here.
So while you're doing that, the oink doink, as you called it, which I like, it reminded me. Wait, go back again. Do it again.
And I was hoping so bad that Arkansas won, because I was going to put the A for Arkansas up there this week, but maybe next year.
And I don't. My sister.
That's a thing for a Razorback fan and a Cowboys fan.
My sister went to A&M, and I don't dislike A&M, But now that they joined the SEC, I mean, I have my team, your Razorbacks. I'm a Gator fan. We haven't had the greatest season so far. We're okay, but not great. I think the Gators have taken the Cowboys defense from 2 years ago and installed it. If you recall, it was just abysmal. We can't stop anybody, which is sad. But what I was going to say, the field goal, that it reminded me, and you may not know this name, but the kicker for the Browns back in 2007, Phil Dawson. They were playing the Ravens and they were going into overtime, and he kicks a ball that hits the upright, and then it bounces, hits the crossbar, and comes out. And they get together and they're like, no good. Well, then they review it, and they notice that when it hits the crossbar, it didn't actually hit the crossbar. It hits the connecting piece, which means it's actually past the crossbar. So that means it's good. But it hit the upright, it hits the connecting piece, and just the way it was spinning caused it to bounce back out. But since it hit past the end line, it was a good field goal. So they went on into overtime. I think they ended up winning. I can't remember. But it was interesting. It's crazy what the ball will do when it hits the upright. But it's either great or it's either terrible, depending on what side you're on. So.
Yeah, that was a wild game full of crazy plays. I'm glad you pulled that play. That I agree with you, Lennon. That was the turning point of the game. It was pretty obvious and pretty heads up play to do that lateral as they're returning it.
It was.
So
when do y'all play Alabama, Lyndon?
That's coming
Saturday.
up. That's exactly that's what I was going to ask. So the one thing I like about the Arkansas bunch is their attitude. They fight. I have my opinions on what's going to happen, but I want to hear from somebody who knows a lot more about Arkansas football than I do. Coming up, against the number one team in the country, Alabama, or I guess number two, they got knocked down. Not because they lost, just because they haven't won by as much as Georgia has. But so when you're going into this game, what do you think the outlook's going to be?
First of all, you never bet against Bama. You just don't.
Right.
And, Arkansas, it's funny, we're going to be talking about the Cowboys today too, and on a positive note, but Arkansas has always reminded me kind of the Cowboys over the last 20 plus years, is they give you enough to love them and hope it's going to be a great season, and kind of like the Cubs. And then they disappoint you somewhere around, last year we played Bama within 7, and we're a onside kick away from having a chance to drive down and tie it up. We have them in Fayetteville. I don't think they're as good as they have been. Now, we may find that out Saturday that they are. Mm-hmm. But I think if we got a chance to beat them, it's going to be this year. I don't think they're as good. I also think they've got Arkansas this weekend. They've got A&M the next weekend, and we all know how that's been going for Alabama. And then they follow that with Tennessee. So there's 3 weeks in a row that I think Alabama's going to be tested consecutively the way they haven't been tested in a long time in the middle of the season.
Every year, half of Bama's team goes to the NFL. So you think at some point they would have a less, maybe a lag in their recruiting ability, and they may not be as good from one year. And it does seem like this might be that year. But it's going to be a tough game regardless. They're just so well coached. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, until Saban leaves that program, I don't think there's going to be much of a blip in the recruiting. So that, unlike most schools, they just reload, right? And that machine that they've got going there, you plug in good talent and you've got a good program and you've got good systems. It usually doesn't take even the youngsters who are really good players to pick it up that quick. They'll pick it up quickly. So it's not surprising that Alabama's good year over year. I do think you're right, though. I think they're a little bit ripe for an upset. And you guys almost had them in Alabama last year, right? That game last year was in Alabama.
Yeah, it was in Alabama. So you always. I don't know how many years we have not beat them. I don't think we beat them since Saban's been there. That's how long it's been since we've beaten them.
Don't worry, you're not alone in
I don't even know what the line is on that game.
Hold on,
I think I might have it here. Hold on.
While you're looking
Alabama
at that,
by 17.
ooh,
I would probably take Arkansas on that one.
yeah.
Man.
What's the
I mean,
over under?
we're at home.
Over under 61.
Yeah.
I'll take the under, and I'll take Arkansas.
I think that's a good bet.
So I don't know if you guys have you guys ever seen, and I'm blanking on the name of the documentary, but it's a documentary with Belichick and oh my God, what I just totally lost it. Saban, golly, with Belichick and Saban, and their friendship, because they coached together with the Browns. I think they coached together with one team in the NFL. They coached against each other when Saban was at the Dolphins. They've just been friends for like almost 40 years. And you see, how Belichick basically just kept reloading at New England for 20 years. Now, obviously, you got to have good quarterback play, which he did. But you look at what Saban's doing in Alabama, and they keep spitting out decent quarterbacks. Like, some of them do better than others in the NFL, but they're great college quarterbacks. And he's just able to reload. They have got a system. They've got belief. They've got, they don't change their approach for who they're bringing in. They're only going to bring in the right kind of people that fit their system. Yeah, this is it right here. It's phenomenal. And I would recommend watching it if anybody hasn't watched it. But it is, it's so frustrating because, we're used to, like, the Cowboys up and down, more down the last 30 years. And you think, how can these programs, one in college, one in the pros, be so dadgum consistent? And it's because they know exactly who they are, exactly what their strategies, exactly what their identity is. And yes, you've got to have talent. Talent goes a long ways. But you see, like, some of the people that Belichick has brought in over the years and drafted. They're like, well, why did he pick that guy? Well, that guy's smart, right? And same thing with Saban. And when you have an identity, and I mean, this goes beyond sports. I mean, this goes into business, and you got businesses, right, that try to change their approach and their identity all the time, and they end up getting, they don't get anywhere because they don't know what they are and what they're standing for. And the same thing can happen in sports, whether it's high school. And I love when you interviewed Plano's coach. What did you say? What was his motto?
First class everything.
First class, and that's simple, right? But having that, I mean, even in business, you try to have like a mantra, or you try to have some core values, and I think most professional teams or college teams have that. But how much do you allow players or staff or coaches to help you to kind of drift from what your core values are? And I think programs that stay true to that and stay true to their identity and just say, this is who we are. Those are the ones that have the longevity and the success. And I think Belichick proved that you don't have to have parity in the NFL. With the right people and the right system, you can be good for a really long time. And you see the same thing happening at Alabama, as frustrating as it may be.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I think you hit on a big, whether it's business or it's sports, the word culture or the concept of culture is everything. At least it's a foundation for everything else, right? And that's one of the things that certainly it exists at Alabama and has for a long time. And Saban brings that with him wherever he's been. He's been successful. Belichick, same deal, right? He's a no nonsense. He's which came first, the chicken or the egg with him and Brady. But at the same time, it's from the top down that culture is instilled, right? So whether Brady carried those teams to all the Super Bowls on the Patriots or Belichick, you have to say at least the culture that Saban brought, that Belichick brought to that program had a lot to do with it. And on that line, that's why I like Arkansas football. I think you guys have it, Lennon. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think this game will be a lot closer to 17 points. I was shocked when I just looked at my sheet, and I was shocked to see it that big. But you guys, all right, I like it. I like the comment. But yeah, so the other upset that I wanted to talk about, or at least touch on, the Texas game, right?
Oh my God, that was good.
Yeah, get the guns up, baby, so the Red Raiders knock off Texas. And you talk about culture. I don't know if you guys heard the locker room speech after that. It made me want to get up and run through a wall. It was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I looked at that game and at it, you know, when you watch enough football, you just kind of have this feeling like that's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a loss or whatever. I always go through every week, and I'm not always right, obviously. If I was, I should start gambling, but I don't. But I just, you know, with the emotional game that they played against Alabama, where I really do think they got screwed in that game, Texas. They're obviously much improved over the last 2 or 3 years, but sometimes you just get a letdown, you know. And it's not that they played terrible, but I just saw that game. I'm like, that could be a loss. And then I didn't even get to watch most of it, but I was right. Maybe I should have put some money down, but I don't know. Try not to be a gambler, but who knows? It's
not gambling if you know you're going to win.
I guess that's a good point.
That's the ultimate gambler's fallacy right there. I love it.
Yeah, but you can't. It says every gambler that's mortgaged their house off. So, but yeah.
So, here we go. Yeah.
No, it was a good. Did you guys see I don't know if you want to call it controversy, but I will tell you this: the Tech coach has no love lost for Texas. I mean, after that game was over, but one of the, of course, Tech stormed the field, and one of the kids ran up and just from behind hit one of the guys, and I don't know if they'll do anything over that, but.
Yeah, I saw the video on Twitter. That kid knocking the Texas player in the back, and that's bullshit. It's great. Fans are happy and all that, but come on, man. And I'm sure there was some beer muscles involved there, but it's just there's no place for that.
Well, it's like every coach that I've ever played for or coached with. The number one saying is act like you've been there. And the Tech fans, Arkansas beat Texas. And then they gotta get tired of that. Arkansas beats them last year and storms the field.
Yeah. So you're saying I didn't see that. So a Tech fan or a Tech player?
A Tech fan. Let me see. I'll find it.
Yeah, let Landon find it. But yeah, basically, as you saw in that video clip, they're storming the field, and Texas players are walking off the field and minding their own business, right? They're getting mobbed by a bunch of fans, and they're not interacting at all. They're just walking off the field, and some fan comes up from behind. The player couldn't see him at all and just jacks him in the back. He didn't totally knock him off his feet, but the guy wasn't expecting it. He's probably outraised him, and he's more athletic than the kid who hit him. But he sent him flying because he wasn't expecting it. And I know they told the campus police they've got the video and they're trying to find the kid who did it. But it's just like I said, it's bullshit. Now I don't think players hurt or anything like that, other than he probably wanted to turn around.
Did he retaliate or did he not do anything?
No,
the guy just kept running. It was a drive-by.
Yeah,
the
fan who did it, the coward that he is, just hit him in the back and kept running. And then the player, the video cuts, at least the one that I saw, cuts pretty much right after it happened. So you couldn't tell if he, turned around and,
Here's a good one.
Yeah,
let me pull this one up. Yeah, it's the end of the game, and I don't think we can pull sound on this. Can y'all hear that?
Barely, actually. It's very quiet.
So, and two, if you notice, the uprights are automatically starting to come down there.
Oh yeah.
So the fans that rush the field can't climb up on it and actually ruin the uprights. They automatically start pulling those things down.
Oh, interesting.
They may not show it on this one. Yeah, they have them collapsible. They do that not because of the cost, but because it's so dangerous when they come down, they hit somebody in the head.
Right. And I'm cool
This
with
one,
it.
man,
I'm fine with the fan storm the field. Like, that's part of the college football experience, in my opinion. The bullshit part is, you don't hit the players as they're walking off the field. And, I guess, I'd feel a little bit bad for the Texas players because it seems to be happening to them a lot. But at the same time, hey,
maybe this is it.
You're a big-time program. You got a target on your back.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get in on this one. Here we go.
Well, supposedly they don't sell alcohol at college games, correct?
Yeah, they do.
They didn't used to, but
Do they now?
Over the last
Oh,
15 years, 10, 15 years, they started to.
Oh, I
Hey,
didn't
it's
know
a
that.
revenue opportunity.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get that.
Here we
All
go.
right, here it comes. Here it comes, right?
There, yep.
Golly. Yeah, he better push him from the back because that guy would have whooped him.
Yeah, no doubt.
He never slowed down either. He was getting out of there.
That's sorry. That's just sorry. They'll catch you. They'll find that guy. They'll catch him.
Yeah,
The
they're
world of
looking.
social media,
So
both good and bad.
we've got a couple more minutes here before we take a break, and then we're going to talk Cowboys on the backside of the break. What I do also want to talk, so Big 12, right? There's a lot of parity in the league this year. K-State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma was another huge loss, another huge upset this weekend, this past weekend. So it was 34-41 loss to K-State. K-State isn't ranked right now, but they've got a couple nice wins under their belt. Texas is still in the Big 12, last I checked, right?
Yep.
They haven't moved yet. So it's going to be an interesting little battle locally here for the Big 12 schools because even the ones that aren't ranked and even those that are hovering around 500 have a legit shot at winning that conference.
Yep. Yeah, it will be interesting.
Yeah, and I know we've got a lot of OU fans in the area here. I didn't think they were a top 10 team necessarily. They're ranked number 6 now, or they were. I don't know if they're currently ranked number 6, but with that program in flux, we'll see. But when you lose the K-State at home, that's not a good sign of if you want to make the college football championships.
Well, speaking of that, and I'm not trying to go back on my team, but what do y'all think about them? What do y'all think about them dropping 10 spots but getting beat by A&M?
You talking about Arkansas?
Yeah,
They were at 10, right?
they were at 10, dropped to 20.
Yeah, I think that's pretty penal given the fact that that was their first loss, right?
Well, and how they played them. It wasn't like they got their butts whipped.
Right. Yeah. They played them tough. They like I said earlier, they outplayed them. They theoretically should have won that game. Now, not taking anything away from A&M, but Arkansas's first loss, right? They don't have any other losses.
Yep, no, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about, you and I talked about Whitten, how you thought 10 was a little bit high for them. But they've got everything. I mean, they've got the schedule to get right back into the top 10 or even more. I mean, they go beat Bama this week. They're probably in the top 10, even with a loss.
Well, and
I
that's the
agree
thing
with
about
that.
it. I mean, you just got to take care of business, and all the chat boards have been talking about that. That realistically, based on our history, we probably shouldn't be top 15. But if we beat Alabama and then turn around and win some more, then we deserve it. Right now, I don't feel upset that we're at 20, especially after so many years that we were probably about 131st.
Well, it goes to show you, right? The blue bloods are always going to be, they're always going to be a little bit favored in the polls, and polls are just all that, right? They're just votes until you get to the end, where either you make the top 4 or final 4, or you don't, or as we're changing the number of teams that are eligible here coming up in the next couple of years, which I'm a huge proponent of.
I'm very excited about that. I think that's a great plan.
Yeah, so I mean that's where what are we in the 4th week of the season and Arkansas's 20th? Yeah, you're right. If they beat Bama this week, they'll jump into the top 10.
Will they play Georgia this year?
No, they don't play Georgia this year.
Okay.
They don't play Georgia or Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee's one of those schools that I couldn't see it. They're right around the top 10, I think, and I did see on that list that OU was down to 16 or 18, something like that. So that they took a big fall with that loss, as well they should have. Like I can see that happening as opposed to Arkansas dropping 10 spots.
So here's Arkansas' schedule coming up. They got Alabama next week. The week after that, Mississippi State at Starkville. That's no pushover either. A&M could go there and lose this week. That's who they have.
Yeah.
Then we have BYU, who they may win the Pac-12 this year. USC may have something to say about that, but BYU is pretty good. Then we have Auburn. They're not looking as good as people thought.
That was my drought game that I called in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and it still could be because it always is for Arkansas. That's one of the ones that it's just like even when we're good, if we play Auburn there's a good chance we don't come out of there winning. November 12th, I'll be at this one, LSU in Arkansas. Then we have Ole Miss there, and then we finish up with Missouri. So,
well, you really want A&M to keep winning because the better they finish, the better that loss looks.
Yeah, kind of, but I don't like A&M.
But
so I'm almost willing to take just win out and don't worry about A&M anymore.
Well, if they lost to Alabama in a close game, if A&M lost to Alabama in a close game, then that would still knock them down probably below Arkansas because they will have 2 losses. But it would still show that they weren't a pushover, which is not what was shown in the Appalachian State game. That's another story.
That'll never be forgotten.
We're really pissing off. Well, Michigan never forgot their loss to Appalachian State either.
No,
they have
nobody else has either.
Yeah,
we need to cut the break real quick. And
yeah,
when we come back,
let's do that. Upcoming games this weekend between ranked teams. Just for the note, Kentucky's at Ole Miss. That's a 7-14 matchup. You've got, as we've talked about, Alabama at Arkansas. That's a 2:20 matchup. Then we've got Oklahoma State at Baylor. So that's a 8 versus 16. Those are 2 really intriguing teams that, as I was talking about in the Big 12, I like that game a lot. So I'm going to tune into that one. That should be a great game. Then we've got, number 22, Wake Forest, at number 23, Florida State. Don't know if that one's actually going to be played or if that's going to be moved given the hurricane. And then NC State's at Clemson, so a 10 versus 5 matchup. That should be a good one too. So those are the games coming up this weekend. Should be good, and that'll put a bow on our NCAA talk. On the backside of this break, we're going to talk NFL and specifically Cowboys after the big win this Monday night. So hit it, Landon.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Are you in the market for a new or used car or truck? Then contact Derek Wallets at Sam Pack's 5-Star Ford in Carrollton, Texas today. With Derek's 20-plus years of experience in automobile sales consulting and Sam Pack's 42 years of exceptional service in the DFW community, you will quickly understand what it means to experience the Sam Pack difference. So give Derek and Sam Pack 5-Star Ford a call today at 972-299-0028 or email him at dwallets@sampack.com.
WeatherTech General Contracting. We make your home renovation dreams a reality.
Metroplex Delivery is DFW's premier restaurant delivery service. Metroplex Delivery brings premium restaurant food right to your door. Metroplex Delivery offers uncompromising white glove treatment. Launching in McKinney and Allen. Give Metroplex Delivery a call at 469-505-0844 or online at www.metroplex.delivery. And by
Alan Lester, branch manager and team lead for the One Group, a branch of Town Square Mortgage. With over 22 years in the mortgage lending industry, Allen and Town Square Mortgage have many loan program options available from conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, and many investor and self-employed programs. So if you're looking for the best in the business, give Allen a call at 214-681-0234.
If you would like to know how you and your business can sponsor this show or others like it, please contact us at info@thedifferenceradio.com. And now back to the show.
All right, welcome back to the show. We are moving into our NFL segment here, and we will talk some NFL games, and specifically the Cowboys, who played on Monday night and came through with a big win. So my summary of the NFL this weekend, one word, ugly. Whether you were on the winning end or losing end, I thought there was a lot of ugly football. I was just looking down the scores to see how many teams actually made it into the 30s, and it looks like there was only two teams that actually made it into the 30s. Now, that's not total. That's by team. So the Jaguars scored 38. Let's see who else was on here. There was one other team that I saw.
That's not the team you would be expecting to do that.
Yeah, no doubt. Talk about unexpected. And they played the Chargers. So
they're playing really well. They're playing really well. I think Trevor Lawrence is finally figuring some stuff out. Maybe after Urban Meyer left, all their distractions went away. So they.
Do you know that Peterson has as many wins after 3 games as Urban Meyer did the whole time he was there?
That's not a good stat for Urban Meyer.
Well, I thought it may be because Trevor Lawrence got a haircut, but we'll attribute to his on-field play. The other team that scored 30 was the Ravens, scored 37. So, I think Lamar Jackson is playing for a contract there, and it shows. So I summarize it as ugly. The two teams that I think most people are – I don't know what Vegas says about this, but certainly the Bills, most people's favorite to win the Super Bowl. They lost. The Chiefs are the other team that a lot of folks are picking to go, at least to the conference championships. They lost as well. So and
don't sleep on Miami though. No.
Yeah, I'm not a believer yet, but
I need to see more than 3 games. But yes, they're doing.
Well, I said last time. Remember when I was talking about Kirk Cousins? He started to play like Kirk Cousins again.
Yeah, he threw up some great numbers, but then piss it away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they moved to 3-0 though, right? So they were the ones who beat the Bills. They've got a good defense. I'll give them that, and defense wins championships.
So check this out. So Connor Williams is now the center for Miami. Okay, he was with Dallas. He was a guard with Dallas. He was meh. He got the number one. He was the number 1 rated offensive lineman in the league this past week. So part of that is probably him getting better, hopefully. But then it kind of makes you wonder, because I've seen this over the years, and I haven't seen enough to know. Like, I'm not blaming the Cowboys, but you'll see players come through here and they just don't have a lot of success, and they go somewhere else and have more success. It's probably more of the line. It's I think his 4th season or 3rd season, and he's probably just figuring some things out. But I was talking to my uncle, and he shared that with me the other day, and I was just like, wow, that's good for him. But it's like, well, couldn't you have done that like 1 year sooner? We could have kept you and not been so thin at guard. I think we've shored up a little bit of that with Peters, but we're still going to probably have to draft him as a guard next year in the draft. So I just found that pretty interesting. I think, I need to see more
here's a fun fact. Here's a fun fact. Where did Jason Peters play college ball, and what position did he play?
He played guard in college, didn't he?
Nope.
Tight end.
Yep.
He played tight end?
He played tight end at the University of Arkansas.
I didn't know.
He was Arkansas. I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's why that's only lended to that.
So that is a fun fact.
Fun fact.
Well, the Cowboys had a good game. Obviously, it's funny to hear how, and I was the same. I was hesitant too because Cooper Rush looked pretty pedestrian in the preseason, and you got to think, he's playing with second and third string, and it's just hard to get rhythm. And then you give it up, then you have to give it over to Danucci, and then you have to give it over to Will Greer, and you don't get a whole game under your belt. But I tell you what, he is. I'm not gonna send him to the Hall of Fame. I don't know what he would do in a whole season. You give teams enough film on him, they're going to start figuring some stuff out. But things that he does, he knows where he's going with the ball immediately, right? You see, he doesn't check down a lot. He's like, this is my receipt. This is where this place is designed to go. I'm going to go there. Obviously, if it's open, but he throws a good ball. Doesn't have like a cannon arm, but he's just they kept saying we're keeping him because he knows the offense. We're keeping him because he knows the offense. And they kept saying it. He knows the offense. We're like, we get it. He knows the offense. But that's a huge value to that. You don't miss a beat. It's not like, I don't think they're really dumbing it down for him. Like, I think they're calling a better game, honestly. And the interesting thing is, and I can't remember who reported this, but I mean, I've seen national ESPN. Everybody's talking about, hey, Dak should really watch Cooper Rush. He can learn some things from him. And in fact, it was reported that Dak finally figured some stuff out that he'd been struggling with. Dak's very talented. His biggest attribute to me, obviously outside of leadership, is his ability to run. And he hasn't really done that since the ankle injury 2 years ago. And I think that takes about 30 to 40% of his game away. And I don't know if they're not doing a read option very often, or I think they did it one time against Tampa and it worked, or he's just hesitant to do it. But there's so many times last year where the field was wide open. He could have easily he could have Daniel Jones to people like Daniel Jones did against the Cowboys. It wasn't enough, obviously, to win. But he's got that ability, and he sits back there a lot, and he goes through his progressions. And obviously, if your first read isn't open, you're supposed to look at second, third. But then he'll miss his check down a lot. He'll miss Deke, who's wide open. And I think some of the stuff that they was talking about that he figured out was that, hey, I don't have to make it so complicated. Just because it's not the perfect alignment, or I don't have to always check out into a run play, just run the play that's called. Give my receiver a chance to make a play and simplify things a little bit. I hope that's what he picked up. That seems to be what was reported. But you're looking at a guy in Cooper Rush that's just like a machine, right? And I'm not saying he's not Tom Brady, but he's just far more consistent than anybody thought. And he just does his job, doesn't seem to be rattled by anything, which is a really good thing, because as a backup, that usually is what happens, right? You get a little over your head, and that's just not happening with him. It's pretty impressive.
I hope you like our backup quarterback. I hope you like him a heck of a lot. That's my Jerry Jones impression right there. So
that was well, yeah.
I know I got to work on it.
Early reviews are not good, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'll work on that. But I will say, yeah, Cooper Rush looked pretty darn good. Much to my surprise, our guy CD right there dropped a sure touchdown early on, but made a hell of a catch. This is it right here, I think, right?
Yeah, the one-handed one.
Yeah, that was.
I was looking at that, and the one that he dropped, because he's looking back and he never follows it in. I literally think he wasn't expecting the ball to be there. I think he lost it in the lights, which is not a great excuse, but the only thing I can think of that you would just whiff on a ball that was perfectly dropped into your hands. But yeah. It was nuts. And then you've got, the defense is, people are talking about, like, again, a little early, but people are using the word Doomsday 3. I don't know how the 92 Cowboys skipped Doomsday 3. They should have been Doomsday 3, but I think that's the best defense we've ever had in 92. Sorry to our 70s Cowboys fans, but yeah, defense is freaking amazing. Micah Parsons did not get a sack this week, but he makes everybody better. D-Law gets 3 sacks. He's been really solid in the run game, but his sack totals fell off the last couple of years, but he gets 3 in one game. Poor Daniel Jones. Yes, they have a subpar offensive line, but it looks like, a high school quarterback running for his life back there. And he is going to be okay. Like, Daniel Jones is going to be a good quarterback, I believe. He seems to be. He doesn't get rattled. He doesn't get frustrated. He's just, and he's got great footwork. He's obviously fast. He can run. Get out of trouble if he has to. And he had to a lot in that last game.
Yeah, he was running for his life. He does have the wheels to evade the rush a bit. The Giants aren't a believer as much as you are, because they haven't given him his.
I know. Maybe try getting him a good offensive line and see how he does. But
I tend to agree with you though. I think Daniel Jones is at least a quality quarterback. I don't know if he's great, but he's at least quality. He can be, with those wheels that he has, can become much better.
He's got that same dumb look that Eli Manning had. They could be twins. When something goes wrong, they have that look like.
I was going to say, I thought Eli Manning had much more dumb face than him. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, they looked pretty.
Hey, but when you win 2 Super Bowls, you can have a dumb face. It doesn't matter.
So real quick, I know we're getting tight on time here, but I like that question at the bottom. Obviously, we don't have a quarterback controversy that Jerry wants, even though I didn't quite sound like him there. But is Pollard better than Elliott? That's an intriguing one to me because I tell you what, Pollard has another gear that Zeke probably used to have, but certainly doesn't anymore. The touchdown run I thought by Zeke was traditional, like, okay, Zeke the banger. He can, I think he bounced off about 4 people and muscled it in the end zone. That's certainly a role that he can play. But Pollard certainly shows a burst that Zeke doesn't anymore in his running style. But also a little known fact for those who weren't watching till the end, who may or may not, like myself, have had some fantasy value tied to both of those players. They had Pollard running a lot of that time-eating offense down the stretch, which I would have thought would have been Zeke. And Pollard did it very well. So he showed me something that I didn't think he had in his game, and that is the ability to get the tough yards, as well as if he finds a little hole, he's going to take full advantage of it. So I look forward to seeing how that develops over this year, because I think Pollard has a lot that he brings to the game that just hasn't been showcased yet.
Well, Elliott always looks for contact, it seems like. He misses some holes. Like, he used to make a cut and be gone his first couple of years. And he's much faster this year because he's not facing a knee injury, a lagging knee injury. But the best thing is not determining who's better. It's just utilizing both of them, which they've done a lot through 2 games. I don't know why it took so long to do it, but they're on the field the same time a lot this year. And I think that's good because they're both pretty good pass catchers. They both can even stretch the field a little bit, even in the pass game. Doesn't happen very often. But Pollard's got that burst that Zeke used to have, and Zeke still got the power. So I like the complementary nature, and I think that just makes us harder to game plan for.
And I think Jerry's an idiot if he gets rid of Pollard, because I don't think whoever you could trade him for is going to bring as much to the team as Pollard brings.
I'd rather him trade Elliott and get somebody to pick up the rest of that contract if they would, which they won't. But
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, if we could just pay half of it instead of all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
fellas, we're over time. Unfortunately, we could probably. I told Brian, I said, "You sure you don't have 3 hours on a Thursday? We can just sit here like they do at the Ticket and talk sports all day long."
I wish we did, but with that, I guess we're going to have to go for this week. I haven't even had a chance to look at the NFL matchups this weekend. So I know there's a few good college ones out there. High school is few and far between. So hopefully the NFL picks up the matchup side. But Nathan, thanks for joining us today. As always, pleasure to have you on the show. This is the first time we had you on the Sports Talk Show, so it's been great to have you.
It was a pleasure to be here. I'll tell you, the Cowboys are playing the Washingtons, because that's what I will be calling them.
The Commanders, right.
I will not use that name ever. It's terrible. So, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it, guys. Y'all have a great week.
Yeah, likewise. Lennon, thanks as always, and we are back on next Thursday, same time. We got the background fixed here, 12 o'clock. We will see you then. Until then, have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week again for a fresh round.